Good day everyone, I am Diana Janaivan of Group 2, and in this video, we talk about the planning and execution of blind pilotage and anchorage. Let's go! The three intended learning outcomes. First, to be able to understand the blind pilotage and anchorage. Second, to be able to understand the responsibilities of navigating officer. And the last, to be able to understand underlying principles involved. Blind pilotage means the navigation of the ship through restricted water in low visibility with little or no recourse to the visual observation of the object outside the ship. Assessment of the risk involved in a blind pilotage passage. Although normally of the accuracy of blind pilotage is such that a ship can be taken to an open anchorage and anchorage within 50 yards of the desired place, the degree of risk involved particular is restricted waters must be carefully assessed. Parallel index technique. The key to the blind pilotage is the principle of the parallel index. The running of the parallel index line provides real-time information on the ship lateral position relative to the plan track. On the illustration, a line is drawn from the edge of a radar conspicuous object parallel to the plan track. The perpendicular distances or cross index range from the object to the track is then measured. The range drawn on the radar is then set to this range and solid China graph line drawn on the display parallel to the planned course on a scale appropriate to the range in use. Radar clearing ranges. Radar clearing range are similarly drawn at the maximum or minimum distance from the radar conspicuous object to keep the ship clear of danger. These are drawn as broken line. See the picture above. Course alterations. Wheel over positions are calculated and plotted to the chart for visual pilotage. A radar conspicuous mark is selected as close as possible to the wheel over position, a peak line is drawn through the wheel over position or figure 2A parallel to the new course and the course index range measured. The wheel over position is plotted on the display as a peak line parallel to the new course. When the selected mark reaches this line, the wheel should put over and the ship brought round to the new course, by which the time the mark should be on firm line denoting the parallel index to the new course. See the picture above.
Good day everyone, my name is Reynel Cañas and this is continuation of video presentation. Responsibilities in normal circumstances. The navigating officer owes the pilot of the ship, although if he is not a navigating subspecialist, the duty of the pilotage devolves on the captain, who may either perform it himself or at his discretion depute any officer of the ship's complement to do so. No matter what the blind pilotage organization may be, the subspecialist navigating officers or NO is always the pilot of the ship, and thus he should also be the blind pilotage officer or BPO, where no navigating subspecialist is BOM. The officer appointed for navigating duties should also be the blind pilotage officers in normal circumstances. However, as responsibility for pilotage is clearly vested in the captain, he may wish to delegate the blind pilotage duty to some other officer. If so, the captain must also clearly set out in his standing orders and orders the circumstances envisaged to ensure that it is absolutely clear who is responsible and when to conduct blind pilotage. The navigating officer should remain in the bridge in poor visibility and conduct the blind pilotage. From there, it is essential to have another officer who is suitable by training and experience as a blind safety trained officer or BSO in the operation room, where he can monitor the blind pilotage and back up the navigating of the bridge. The BSO will need to be in touch with the surface plot to assist with identification of radar contacts. The essence of this arrangement is that members of the team do not change the position if the visibility changes. The navigating officer conduct the pilotage from the bridge whatever the weather or visibility. In good visibility, the BSO acts as useful check on the visual plan and builds up confidence in his team, and in the command in marginal visibility, the bridge team continues to make use of any visual information to supplement information from the radar. In nil visibility, the NO conducts the blind pilotage from the beach. Radar display monitored by the BSO. If reports from the NO and BSO disagree, immediate action to stop the ship may be necessary until the position has been accurately determined. Blind pilotage team and duties. Blind pilotage requires a high degree of organization and teamwork so that not only are the responsibilities of individuals clearly defined, but also all relevant factors may be considered while assessing the ship position and her future movements. Suitable arrangement to achieve this these are set out in Table 1. This may have to be adjusted depending on the class of ship, the personnel available, and the above comments. General principles. To ensure success, the ship must be accurately navigated along a pre-arranged track in comparatively unrestricted waters. This is the best done by constant fixing using radar in conjunction with other aids such as DECA and echo sounder. The following principle apply. 1. The navigating officer should navigate or pilot the ship. Number 2. The captain should have easy access to blind piloted position and the NO. Number 3. The ship should be count from the compass platform because it is only on the bridge that the feel of the ship can be retained. Number 4. The captain, blind safety officer, OOW, in the officer in charge of the anti-collision plot should all be carefully brief the passage by the NO so that they are all entirely familiar with the visual blind or plan. Number 5. The navigational charts with the NO prepared visual blind plan must be available on the bridge and in the operation room. Number 6. The whole pilotage team should be exercised as frequently as possible in clear weather in visual and blind techniques. Only in this way can the necessary confidence in the system be built, which will allow runs of some complexity to be conducted safely in blind condition. Number 7. The BSO should be close up on all occasions of entering the living harbor and passage through narrow waters. When specially duty men are close up, the BP team should be regarded as part of special sea duty men. Number 8. There should be good communication between the blind pilotage positions and the BSO and personnel manning navigating aids shifted elsewhere. Number 9. All members of the team should be encouraged to admit any doubts they may have regarding information acquired from sensor.
I am Clarity Denmark. This is the continuation of our report. That blind pilotage planning. 1. Normal planning consideration for selection of track applying blind and visual track should be the same to enable the transition from visual to blind or vice versa to be made at any time. And also, to allow one plan to be used to cross-check the other. 2. The number of course alterations should be kept to be minimum to reduce the workload in redrawing parallel and wheel over lines. 3. Always try to have two parallel index lines where possible one on each side of the track is provide a check on measurement, mark identification, and can reveal index or linearity errors. 4. Objects to be used both for parallel index line for fixing must be carefully selected. They should be rather conspicuous and unchanged by varying height clearly marked on the chart. The object to be used for fixing and with the assistance avoid if possible fixing by radar range and bearing on a single mark. 5. The range scale to be used requires careful consideration. Accuracy is greater at shorter range but mark pass more quickly than at a distance requiring more lines to be drawn. When operating on short-range scales, it is essential that the BPO frequently switches to the longer range to keep aware of developing situation. Changes of range scales and spiral index marks should be pre-planned and marked in the notebook. The stage of which part will be changed must also be carefully considered. 6. Tidal streams and currents should be worked out and noted for a calculation of courses to steer for the calculation of EP. This should be displayed on the chart and recorded in the notebook. 7. Expected sounding allowing for height of tide and calibration of echo sounder should be noted for each leg. This possibility of being early or late should also be borne in mind. 8. All hazard along the track should be boxed in the clearing ranges under cross-index range listed on the notebook. 9. Details of all lights on fog signal should be taken from the Admiralty list of lights charts and entered on the notebook. 10. The chart should be drawn up using standard symbols. See Table 2. 11. The notebook should contain the full plan neatly and legibly recorded in the chronological order. Sketches of both Maganda Ako chart and radar display can be or great assistance to be depot in evaluating the picture. 12. Track plotted for entering and leaving harbor should not appear on the same chart simultaneously, otherwise confusion will arise. 13. Cleaning range should be simple, safe, and easily interpreted. 14. Object used for wheel over should be conspicuous, easily identifiable, and sensitively located adjacent to the track. Blind pilotage execution. 1. Carry out of it. A time check to synchronize clock and watches. 2. On the radar display, keep one set of parallel index the line drawn up ahead of those in use. Any more will clutter display excessively. Rub out lines as soon as they are finished with. 3. Identify contacts early by range and bearing from charted object. An accurate EP is a most useful aid in identification. 4. Fix at frequent interval and immediately after a change of course. ED/EP ahead a suitable fixing procedure is BPO assistant standby fixed in 1 minute. BPO Roger using point A, B, C. BPO assistant write of this in notebook. BPO or BPO assistant fix now. BPO then range off the mark drawn up display and passes to BPO assistant. BPO assistant record the range, plot the fix, and generates fresh DR and EP. 5. Ship speed. On the factor affecting the choice of ship speed will be the rate at which the BPO and his assistant are capable of dealing with radar information. 6. Commentary and Conning maintain a steady, unhurried, and precise flow of information to the command. Distance and time to next will over new course. Present, new course, clear a shipping adjacent mark or hazard, expected light and sound signals. Expected depth and echo sounding minimum depth when fixing and results of fixed EP to the next alteration. Maneuvering limits 5 cables clear to sideboard, 1 cable to port. 7. It must be appreciated that whatever the technique employed, a drift of line is likely to be detected less readily by radar than by visual method. 8. It is visual to pay attention to the echo sounder and the least depth expected. The nearest land is usually the bottom. Blind pilotage exercise to improve the reality of BP exercise in clear weather. The following points should not be forgotten. First, safe speed should be maintained. Second, fixes should be recorded and plotted at the same frequency as for actual blind pilotage. Third, a full debrief should take place on completion of the practice.
Good day, I am Idoloberio Raylin and this is the continuation of our report. Blind anchorage. A blind anchorage should be planned in the same way as a visual anchorage, but remember to allow steam to radar instead of steam to standard. When plotting the let go position, the parallel index line should be used to guide the ships to the anchorage position and she must stay back in the bearing ranges. Distance to run can be obtained by using a head range on a suitable object ahead or by measuring the progress of a radar contextuous object along a parallel index line. Full details must be shown on the chart and on the notebook. Distance to run must be marked on the face of a display. This can be backed up by the ranges strobe, but the reliance of the strobe alone is dangerous because the reference is lost as soon as the strobe is required for any other measurement. Navigational records. When carrying out blind pilotage passage, the navigating officer of BPO will be too busy to maintain a continuous written record. It is essential that such a record should be kept in comparative unrestricted waters and normally sufficient for this record to be kept on the chart itself by plotting fixes and nothing in the position and the time of alteration of course and speed and other relevant data, in addition to the record in navigational record book. This procedure involved through a methodical chart work. It is fact no difference from that which should be practiced during any piloted passage. In more restricted condition, however, the navigating officer of BPO's running commentary, the captain should be recorded on a tape if possible. For example, number 7, Boy pine on port bow, 8 cable ships 50 yard to port, of track steer 136 to regain. In conjunction with the navigating officer of BPO's prepared notebook, the chart, the recorded fixes and course and speed, this record should be outpaced for any subsequent analysis required. Horizontal display. Where horizontal display are available in the operations room, the whole passage may be prepared in advance on a series of overlays. The BSO's assistance changing this at appropriate time. The drawback of this method is that all tracking and other additional marks made by BSO are lost at each change. With most horizontal display in use in the Royal Navy, the picture is not sufficient, precise for accurate blind and should be not used. Conclusions. For merchant ships, the regulation for pilotage are laid down by the national authority or the shipping company and in orders for port concern. Recommendation on pilotage are also made from time to time by IMO. Regulations for merchant ships frequently required compulsory pilotage. Although masters have considerable knowledge of a particular port may be exempted for the port, as maybe certain ships regularly trading on the coast concerned. In most ports, it is the usual practice for the pilot to take full control of the handling of the ships between the pilot boarding place, usually shown on the chart in the deep. The general aim of the master should be to ensure that the expertise of the pilot is fully supported by the ship's bridge team. The officer of the watch is required to cooperate closely with the pilot and keep an accurate check on the vessel's position and movements. If there's any doubt as a pilot action and intentions, this should be clarified immediately. If any doubts still remain, it is up to the master or the officer of the watch to take an appropriate action to ensure the safety of the ship.
And that's the video presentation of Group 2. We hope you all enjoy it. Thank you.